Welcome to another Halloween special from Out from the Horrorbox. I'm your sweet host, Dom, and in tonight's special, we'll be looking over a Mexican holiday, reviewing a spooktacular film, and ending with some creepy stories. First, we look at Dia De Los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, a holiday traditionally celebrated on November 1st and 2nd, widely observed in Mexico. Then, the film we're going to be looking at is the 1975 musical comedy horror film produced by Lou Adler and Michael White, directed by Jim Sharman, written by Sharman and Richard O'Brien, The Rocky Horror Picture Show. Last, we leave off with some creepy stories from the internet. Black cats and goblins and broomsticks and ghosts, covens of witches with all of their hopes. You may think they scare me, you're probably right. Black cats and goblins on Halloween night. Trick or treat! The Day of the Dead, or in Spanish, Dia de los Muertos, is a traditional holiday primarily observed on November 1st and 2nd, though specific dates can vary, with some localities incorporating October 31st or November 6th into the festivities. This multi-day occasion centers on family and friends gathering to honor and lovingly remember those who have passed away. Rather than being a somber affair, these celebrations often adopt a humorous and joyful tone, as participants fondly recall funny stories and cherished anecdotes about the departed, celebrating their lives rather than merely mourning their loss. While the tradition is most prominently associated with Mexico, where its modern form largely developed, its observance has spread globally and is now celebrated in many other communities, particularly those with Mexican heritage. The timing of the holiday intentionally coincides with the Christian liturgical period known as All Hallowtide, which encompasses All Saints' Eve, All Saints' Day, and All Souls' Day. The holiday's origins are a subject of rich historical synthesis. Some scholars point to deep indigenous Mexican roots, suggesting the customs derived from ancient Aztec festivals dedicated to the goddess. God, guys, I'm probably going to butcher a lot of these. Mixtecatl. God, I'm butchering this. While others view it primarily as a local adaptation of the European All Hallowtide traditions introduced by Spanish colonizers. Regardless of the precise genesis, the Day of the Dead has evolved into a powerful, unified Mexican tradition that serves as a vibrant way to honor the nation's cultural forebears. Ultimately, the holiday is overwhelmingly characterized by its festive spirit, viewing the communion between the living and the dead not as a source of fear, but as a cause for celebration, music, and colorful artistry. A central tradition of Dia de Muertos involves the construction of private altars known as ofrendas, or offerings, which are carefully curated with photographs, personal mementos, and favorite foods and beverages of the departed. The fundamental intent behind these elaborate displays is to entice the souls of the deceased to return for a visit, creating a conduit so that they may hear the prayers, stories, and words of the living spoken in their memory. These altars can be found in intimate household settings or in public spaces like schools and libraries, but it is also an extremely common practice for families to journey to cemeteries to place these ofrendas directly beside the tombs of their loved ones. Preparations for this sacred day are a year-round endeavor, with families gradually gathering the specific goods and items to be presented as offerings. During the multi-day period, families clean and adorn grave sites, with most making a pilgrimage to the cemetery to decorate with ofrendas that prominently feature the vibrant orange Mexican marigolds. In modern Mexico, this flower is often called Flor de Muerto, flower of the dead. These blossoms are not merely decorative, they are deeply symbolic, believed to possess the power to attract the souls of the dead toward the offerings. Their bright petals and potent scent are further thought to create a luminous path, guiding the spirits from the cemeteries all the way back to the doors of their family homes. The common English name marigold has a different origin, derived from Mary's gold, which originally referred to the native European plant Calendula officinalis. I probably butchered that one as well. The offerings placed upon the altars and graves are highly personalized to welcome the specific souls being honored. For deceased children, referred to tenderly as los angelitos, the little angels, families bring toys. For adults, offerings often include bottles of spirits like tequila, mezcal, or pulque, or warm beverages like atole. I'm probably mispronounced those. It is also customary to place trinkets or the deceased's favorite candies directly on the grave. For those who build ofrendas inside their homes, typical items include traditional foods such as candied pumpkin, pan de muerto, a special sweetbread adorned with bone-shaped decoration, and colorfully iced sugar skulls, alongside the requisite beverages. These domestic ofrendas function as a warm welcome for the returning spirits. The common belief holds that the spirits consume the spiritual essence of the food from the ofrendas, and while the living may eat the physical food after the festivities, it is thought to have lost all its nutritional value. In a final, intimate gesture of care, pillows and blankets are often left out so the deceased can rest after their long spiritual journey. In some Mexican towns, it is customary for families to hold an all-night vigil beside the graves of their relatives. Furthermore, in many places, it is a joyful tradition to have a picnic at the gravesite, sharing a meal in the company of both the living and the dead. And one thing that I just recently found out, Mexico right now, this year in 2025, if you're listening to it when this episode premieres, or you're listening to it back from in the future, this year is, I guess, the 700th year of them celebrating, Mexico celebrating Dia de Muertos, and they're having a huge celebration right now. You can go online and check that out, but they have these like in Mexico City. I don't know if it's in the actual city or just outside, but they have these elaborate, like, huge, like skeletons and things, and like other things, like different little things built around. It's a pretty cool thing. I'll have to post some pictures of them, but it's pretty cool. Like, I didn't know, like, it's 700. Think about that, 700 years celebrating this tradition, this holiday. And as I was watching a TikTok, and it was said that there are a lot of like Mexicans and Hispanics that really like scary movies and like to hear a lot of like spooky stuff. And it's probably because like this, like our traditions are a lot of like talking about the dead, talking about like the past things that we've seen, things that we've heard that are strange and scary and spooky. That's already built into our culture, so that's probably why we make up a lot of the consuming base for horror films, scary movies, and all that. And like I said, like I'm Mexican American, and I love horror films. I obviously have a whole podcast about it. But yeah, so if you want to look into more about that, the tradition, I unfortunately, me and my family never really celebrated this. It wasn't something that came up with us, I think if you were like, we're multi-generation here in America, and I think if we were like last time we were closer to coming from Mexico, I think we probably would have celebrated, but we've been here a lot longer than a couple of generations, so that's probably why we don't celebrate it. I mean, other than I think because my family was very Catholic before, that might also be part of it too. So who knows? I don't know. Now let's take a look at that 1975 comedy horror musical produced by Lou Adler and Michael White. It's directed by Jim Sharman and written by Sharman and Richard O'Brien. The Rocky Horror Picture Show. On a wild, rain-swept late November evening, just outside Ohio's Mary Denton, the boringly innocent young pair, Brad Majors and Janet Weiss, find themselves stranded on their way to visit an ex-tutor. Instead, the couple will inadvertently unearth the cross-dressing Dr. Frank-N-Furter's spooky lair of inexhaustible oddities, just in time to partake in the out-of-this-world mad scientist's proud unveiling of his latest, most daring creation, the flaxen-haired Rocky Horror. But, little by little, Brad and Janet slowly begin to embrace the potent fascinations of seduction. So let's put on our fishnets and heels and check out the Rocky Horror Picture Show. During the early 1970s, Richard O'Brien was navigating a period of professional uncertainty, living in London as an unemployed actor. To pass the time during one particularly long and idle winter, he began writing what would become the Rocky Horror Show, initially viewing it as little more than a personal creative exercise. The project was a direct reflection of his lifelong passions, drawing deeply from his youthful adoration for science fiction and B-movie horror films. He consciously sought to blend these influences, aiming to capture the unintentional humor of low-budget horror, the overly dramatic and portentous dialogue of schlock cinema, the iconic physique of Steve Reeves in his muscle man roles, and the raw energy of 1950s rock and roll. O'Brien conceived and wrote the play within the vibrant context of the glam rock era, a movement that had taken hold of British pop culture in the 1970s. He later acknowledged that this cultural movement was essential to his creative liberation, stating that glam rock allowed me to be myself more, providing the perfect flamboyant and androgynous backdrop for his unconventional story. While the script was still in its formative stages, O'Brien shared a portion of it with the Australian director Jim Sharman. Impressed by its originality, Sharman decided to stage it at the small, experimental upstairs space of the Royal Court Theatre in London, a venue dedicated to fostering new and innovative work. The two had previously collaborated when O'Brien appeared in Sharman's stage production of Jesus Christ Superstar, and again in Sam Shepard's The Unseen Hand, establishing a productive creative rapport. Sharman promptly brought on production designer Brian Thompson to help realize the show's unique aesthetic. This original creative team was completed by costume designer Sue Blaine, musical director Richard Hartley, and stage producer Michael White, who was enlisted to manage the production's logistics. As rehearsals commenced, the musical's working title, They Came From Denton High, was discarded. Just before previews began, Sharman suggested the simpler, more impactful title by which it is now known, The Rocky Horror Show. The musical premiered in the intimate 60-seat Royal Court Theatre, but its popularity exploded almost immediately, necessitating a swift move to a larger venue. It first transferred to the 230-seat Chelsea Classic Cinema on Kings Road in August 1973, before settling into a quasi-permanent home at the 500-seat Kings Road Theatre that November, where it would enjoy a successful 6-year run. Its transatlantic success began in 1974 with a U.S. debut in Los Angeles, followed by productions in New York City and other urban centers. This American expansion was catalyzed by producer and Ode Records owner Lou Adler, who, after attending a London performance in the winter of 1973, while escorted by his friend Britt Eklund, was instantly captivated. He immediately secured the U.S. theatrical rights and mounted his own production at his famed Roxy Theater in Los Angeles. The show's remarkable journey culminated in 1975 with its premiere on Broadway at the prestigious 1,000-seat Belasco Theater, cementing its status as a global cultural phenomenon. The film's production was anchored in key British studio locations, primarily set in Brace Studios and historic Oakley Court, the Victorian Gothic country house near Maidenhead, Berkshire, which served as the primary setting for the fictional town of Denton. Post-production was later completed at Elstree Studios, with the principal photography taking place over a concentrated period from October 21st to December 19th, 1974. Oakley Court, built in 1857, was a veteran of the genre, having featured prominently in a number of classic Hammer horror films, though by the time of this production, the manor was in a notable state of disrepair. The cast was largely populated by actors from the original London stage production, most notably Tim Curry, who had solidified his iconic portrayal of Dr. Frank-N-Furter with the deliberate choice to give the character an extravagantly posh Queen's English accent. However, producer Lou Adler insisted that the roles of the all-American couple Brad and Janet be played by American actors, leading to the casting of Barry Bostwick and Susan Sarandon. The autumn shoot presented difficult conditions, exacerbated by the cold and damp environment of the deteriorating manor, which contributed to Susan Sarandon falling ill with pneumonia during production. A key moment of the schedule was the filming of the elaborate laboratory scene and the creation of the title character, which occurred on October 30th, 1974. As a cinematic work, the film functions as both a loving tribute and a sharp parody of science fiction and horror B-movies, spanning from the 1930s to the 1970s. The production carefully retains many core elements from the stage version, including its distinctive production design and musical score, while also expanding its scope with new scenes not present in the original theatrical run. The overall plot, Gothic setting, and visual style are a direct echo of the Hammer horror film tradition, which possessed its own instantly recognizable aesthetic, much in the same way Universal Studios horror films did. Several creative concepts were ultimately abandoned for budgetary reasons, including an originally proposed opening sequence that was to feature clips from the various films mentioned in the science fiction double feature lyrics, as well as a plan to shoot the initial scenes in black and white before exploding into color. So don't dream it, be it.
You've seen all kinds of movies, but you've never seen anything like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Let's do the time warp again. Let's do the time warp again. The Rocky Horror Picture Show is wonderfully weird. I'm your new commander. You now are my prisoner.
They're probably foreigners with ways different than our own.
It's fabulously freaky. It's a trip to transsexual Transylvania. The Rocky Horror Picture Show. Transsexual Transylvania. The story is strange.
For tonight is the night that my beautiful creature is destined to be born!
The songs are super.
Science fiction.
The scenery is smashing. The cast is completely crazy.
This isn't the Junior Chamber of Commerce, Brad.
There's a mad scientist named Frank-N-Furter.
Come up to the lab and see what's on the slab.
And Rocky, his incredible creature.
I knew he was in with a bad crowd, but it was worse than I imagined.
A sinister servant named Riff Raff.
I remember doing the time war.
And Brad and Janet.
My name's Brad Majors.
Just a couple of clean-cut kids.
This is my fiancée, Janet Weiss.
touch me. I wanna be dirty.
Eddie. Magenta.
When shall we return to Pennsylvania, huh?
Columbia. Dr. Scott.
Great Scott!
So give yourself over to absolute pleasure. See the Rocky Horror Picture Show. You've never seen anything like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. The Rocky Horror Picture Show is wonderfully weird.
The film opens with a surreal prologue, a pair of disembodied lips floating in the void, welcoming the audience with the tantalizing science fiction double feature. This otherworldly introduction is framed by the ongoing narration of a criminologist, played by Charles Gray, who observes the bizarre events from an unspecified future date, providing a detached, analytical commentary on the unfolding drama. Following the wedding of their friends, a wholesome and somewhat naive young couple, Brad Majors and his new fiancée, Janet Weiss, played by Barry Bostwick and Susan Sarandon respectively, decide to celebrate their engagement by visiting their former high school science teacher, Dr. Everett Scott. It was in his classroom that the pair first met, a sentimental journey marked by their celebratory song, Damn It, Janet. Their plans go awry, however, when on a dark and stormy night, they become lost on a remote road and suffer a flat tire. Forced to seek help, the couple stumble towards the only visible shelter, a forbidding Gothic castle they spot in the distance, which they hope will provide a telephone over at the Frankenstein place. They are admitted by the castle's strangely attired inhabitants, a cohort led by the hunchback butler Riffraff, his sister and maid Magenta, and starstruck groupie named Columbia, who immediately draw the newcomers into a chaotic dance lesson for the Time Warp. Master of the house, Dr. Frank-N-Furter, the self-proclaimed sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania, then makes a grand entrance, introducing himself as a mad scientist and inviting the stranded couple to stay the night. They are portrayed by Richard O'Brien, Patricia Quinn, Little Nell, and Tim Curry, respectively. His laboratory, Frank-N-Furter, with Riffraff's assistance, unveils his ultimate creation. He brings to life a perfectly sculpted, tall, muscular, handsome, blonde man named Rock, played by Peter,
and I really got
sort
hot
of
when I saw Jeanette Scott fight
as
a
Frank
trick
proudly
that
vouched for
spits
finding
poison
the
and
ideal man
kills.
within a week. I can
Dana
make you
Andrews said
the celebration
proves
violently
gave
interrupted by
him
Eddie,
the
a rebellious
rules, and
motorcyclist
passing
with a
them
bandaged
used
head,
lots of
played by the
skills. But
who breaks
when
out in a deep
worlds
freeze.
collide,
Viewing this
George
as an act of
Powell
betrayal,
to his
Frank
bride,
kills
I'm
Eddie with a
gonna
nice act,
give you
fully
some
justifying it as his
terrible
mercy,
thrills.
before departing for the brutal bridal suite with his new creation, Rocky. I Can Make You a Man, reprise. Brad and Janet are shown to separate bedrooms where Frank orchestrates a night of sexual chaos by visiting and seducing each of them while cleverly disguised as the other. Meanwhile, Riffraff and Magenta torment the childlike Rocky, who flees the suite in fear. Janet, after having discovered Brad's infidelity with Frank, finds Rocky cowering in his laboratory birthing. While tending to his wounds, she's overcome by his physical perfection and seduces him, unaware that their intimate encounter is being watched by Magenta and Columbia via a hidden bedroom monitor. Toucha, 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 touch me. The plot thickens with the arrival of Dr. Scott, played by Jonathan Adams, who is now a government investigator probing UFO phenomena and has come to the castle in search of his missing nephew, Eddie. The tense reunion is shattered when Frank leads everyone to the lab, exposing Janet and Rocky's affair. In a fit of rage, Frank has Magenta summon the entire household to a formal dinner. where the guests soon realize of the horror that the main course prepared from Eddie's mutilated remains. And that's when they sing, Dr. Scott sings Eddie. In the ensuing chaos, Janet returns to Rocky for protection, provoking a jealous prank to chase her through the castle halls back to the lab, where he uses his Medusa transducer to turn Dr. Scott, Brad, Janet, Rocky, and Columbia into nude, stone-like statues as punishment. All the while they sing Planet Schmanet Janet, Wise Up Janet Weiss, and Planet Hot Dog. Frank then stages an elaborate cabaret, dressing his captive statues in glamorous costumes before unfreezing them to perform a live floor show complete with an RKO tower and a swimming pool. Rose Tint My World, Don't Dream It, Be It, The Wild and Untamed Thing are all sung. The spectacle is abruptly halted when Riff Raff and Magenta, now clad in silver space attire, interrupt to declare mutiny. They condemn Frank's extravagant and unsanctioned experiment, announcing their intentions to return to their home planet. Frank makes a desperate, heartfelt, final plea for mercy. I'm going home. But his appeals are ignored as Riff Raff mercilessly kills both him and Columbia with a laser. An enraged Rocky climbs the RKO tower with Frank's body and, after being shot multiple times by Riff Raff's laser, plummets to his death. As the capsule detaches from Earth and lifts off into space, Brad, Janet, and Dr. Scott are left behind, crawling in the smog and dirt, utterly confused and disoriented. The criminologist concludes his narration with a bleak observation, comparing the human race to insects crawling on the planet's surface, lost in time and lost in space and meaning. And then the final number, Superheroes, is performed. Now let's move on to some trivia about the film The Rocky Horror Picture Show and learn some things about the behind the scenes, the production, and the actors. Not only do patrons dress up for midnight showings, they often bring props. So if you don't know, though, one thing that has stuck around since this movie has become such a phenomenon with the midnight movies, and it's been the longest running film in theaters for the 50 years that it's been around. But like a lot of people will dress up and they'll do a lot of elaborate things. So the most common things that they bring are rice that they throw at Ralph and Betty's wedding, a water pistol, the back row squirts them during the rain scenes, newspapers for the front and middle rows to shield themselves from the rain, flashlights. There's a light verse over at the Frankenstein place. Rubber gloves during and after the creation speech. Frank snaps his gloves 3 times. Noisemakers. The Transylvanians applaud Frank's creation. Toilet paper, preferably Scott's brand. Throw a roll when Brad yells, "Great, Scott!" Confetti. The Transylvanians throw confetti at the end of the Charles Atlas reprise. Toast thrown when Frank proposes a toast at dinner. A party hat when Frank puts on his hat to wish Rocky Horror happy birthday. A bell when we made it. Did you hear a bell ring? And cards for sorrow, cards for pain. The prop for There's a Light was almost always a cigarette lighter during the original 70s show, but most movie theaters now ban, obviously, open flames. And obviously, because they also have newspapers too, you probably don't want all that around. And some fans insist the toast should be buttered, but some theaters frown on that due to the mess. And if you haven't seen this before, it was popular. I mean, it was already like gaining popularity, but the movie Fame shows it. Like that they go to they show like when they go to like a midnight showing and like they do all this stuff. And I've been to one at when the Phoenix Comic Con used to be in Mesa. I know it was called it was in Mesa at one point. I went there and like they did a whole performance there, and it was pretty fun. You know, we got to watch the show and watch and see them perform it while they did it. It was pretty fun. I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool, and I highly recommend it for anyone. And then, especially if you haven't been there the first time, they like to find the people who they haven't been there, and this is their first time to quote unquote pop their cherries for it. Most of the actors and actresses weren't told about the prop corpse of Eddie under the dining room tablecloth during the scene. When it was revealed during filming, their looks of horror are genuine. The only three who knew were Tim Curry, Richard O'Brien, and Meatloaf, who had to model the corpse. And I love when, you know, when you to get like genuine reactions from people, you know, sometimes you do gotta go out of your way to like be a little I don't know what you would call it, like sneaky, a little like underhanded, like what like they pull the whole cloth and there's just like this what looks like a dead body of this person you've been hanging around and acting with, and that's I don't know, it's kind of fun. It's kind of funny that like that they would they would do this, but it gets a genuine reaction, right? Anything to get that more genuine reaction you want to see. Richard O'Brien was concerned that Meatloaf might not be able to handle Hot Patootie, bless my soul. And actually, if you go and read the lyrics, try and keep pace with that. I was trying to do it the other day, and I was like, how does he do it? Like, it's really, really something. O'Brien brought out the music and handed it to him, saying, "It's okay to flub a few lines. No one in the London cast has ever sung the whole thing correctly anyway." He, Meatloaf, looked at it, replied, "What's the problem?" Then sang the whole thing without skipping a beat. And that just goes to show you, like, how, though he was kind of set politics aside, he wasn't a great person in the end, but Meatloaf was still a great singer. And, you know, like, this just shows, like, he's probably one of the only people that could have sang this. I'm not joking, guys. Go check out those lyrics and try and sing it. It's really difficult to keep with the like the music and like the beat and everything with those lyrics. Like, it's like how did Richard O'Brien himself come up with this and be like, yeah, somebody will be able to sing this maybe. I don't know. Writer and director Jim Sharman famously turned down an offer from 20th Century Fox for a larger budget and longer shooting schedule if he would agree to cast more famous rock stars of the time, so like Mick Jagger, David Bowie, Lou Reed, Cher, on and on and on. But he felt that the people who were really responsible for developing it, from Richard O'Brien's 14-page treatment, along with a cassette tape with most of the songs already written, into what it ultimately became, were the ones involved in the stage production. So he opted to keep as many of the original cast members as possible, and in addition to this, as a possible reason for its success, movies are generally not rehearsed at any great length, like stage shows are, and that maybe with some people, I mean, I know a lot of times that's kind of what, like, you give the script to the actor, you let them practice it how they want, like they get into it, and then, you know, day of the production of the shoot, you know, that's when you bring in most everyone together. Since the actors and actresses had already played the roles for quite some time, when this movie went into production, the process was old hat to the performers. So they already understood everything about it and how to work with like an audience that they already knew was already very polished. So I really like that. I like that idea of, like, you know, these were the people who fine-tuned all of this, who got it together. Yeah, you can't just bring in a Mick Jagger or a Cher and expect them to be like, yeah, they're probably going to give you a good performance, but it's probably not going to be anything like you're thinking it is. Like, it's probably going to be like, okay, that's cool, but it doesn't work with what we're doing here. It doesn't mesh well with what they were already doing over there. I don't know. I think that was a pretty good idea, because you get a genuine like feel from the actors in this that they already like are like they know what they're doing. But I guess let's just move on to my final thoughts about the Rocky Horror Picture Show. remember being a kid and kind of seeing things about this here and there, right? Nothing like too crazy. I think I watched some of it. I think I remember like someone, maybe it was my brother, maybe it was my cousins. I don't remember. They were watching. I know that they watched Fame, and I remember seeing like parts of it in there, and then knowing that like hearing about like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and then later as a teenager, you get kind of curious about certain things, and you're growing up, and you're like obviously you're wanting to like watch things that are like more out there, especially when the late 90s early 2000s, which was very like everyone was very like getting into being like Christian and youth stuff and all that, and like I remember my brother like getting upset that I was watching it because he's like, oh, look at what it has to do with like sex and stuff, and like, oh, things he shouldn't be watching. My mom was like, whatever, he can watch it. And you know liking it like to a certain extent, thinking it was pretty good. And then I learned more and more about it, and and I came to be like, this is actually one of the greatest like movies of all time. Musicals. It helped get me into like some musicals here and there. I still love it now. I honestly, this is it's such a good film. I love everything about it. I love the idea of being able to like be more free thinking and free and cool, and like the antagonist, though he is this like free love kind of person, and like you're supposed to kind of root for like the goody two shoes. You're not like they spin that on their head, and they're like, hey, maybe you should be thinking about like being giving into like the pleasure, being like freer with your mind, being not so stuck up and stuff. And then just like the cultural impact it's had on everything, like it's directed pretty good. The acting, like I said, is pretty good too. I think the art direction is amazing. I think like the fact that it's lasted and been around for 50 years. This, in the year 2025, is the 50th anniversary. And that's ridiculous. It's crazy to me. It still runs like at like in theaters here and there. And it's like I said earlier, like the longest running film in still in theaters, which is crazy to think about. And like the music itself is pretty good. There's some here and there, like superheroes is like meh. At first I didn't really like being like younger, I didn't really like Over at the Frank-N-Furter place, but now I love it. Actually, I think Superheroes is probably the weakest song of the whole movie, because everything else, science fiction double feature is amazing. Hot Patootie is amazing. I think Over at the Frankenstein place, Sword of Damocles, they're God, they're just Eddie. It's just so good. Meatloaf is a great presence. Like he's just amazing. Barry Botswick, he said that he went and saw the play prior to, and he was like, because he saw it, he was like, I have to be in the feature. I gotta be in something somewhere. Um, Richard O'Brien does a great job as Riff Raff. So does Patricia Quinn, Little Nell, all of them. Susan Sarandon, stunningly beautiful Susan Sarandon in this. And I think this, I don't know if it was her first film. I think she'd have done a couple films before this, but this was, I think, one of her first breakout films. And then, of course, you cannot talk about this film without talking about Tim Curry. Tim Curry is such such an icon. Like and what sucks is that for the longest time, he did not want to talk about this. He even like changed, like he said that he grew like fatter and more plainer to kind of distance himself from this. And it's just so sad, because it's like, yes, you could say whatever you want, like all the other roles that he's done are masterful. He's an amazing actor, amazing character actor. He's Pennywise. He's the devil in Legend. He is in Clue, and like he's here and there, and like he's been a voice actor, and he's an amazing, great actor. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. And the fact that he didn't like this, like he wanted to distance himself from this because I think it had like I don't know, some kind of stigma to it. I don't know, but now he has come around to, he was there for the 50th anniversary. Although, unfortunately, he did suffer a stroke. I think it was, wow, maybe been like almost a decade now ago. And so he really can't act too much in anything. He's in a wheelchair. But he came out for the 50th and he talked about it, and, at least he's embracing it now. And he's going to be someone that, once he's gone, I'm gonna be very, very sad that he's gone, because he really helped to shape a lot of the things that I love about like film and cinema. He's just been around for a long time, and I think he's a great, great actor, and like he is the movie. This movie wouldn't be anything without him. Honestly, like his performance of sweet transvestite, of don't dream it, be it, I'm going home, just like stunning, and like he just gives all in this performance, and he didn't have to. Like you see what this role is, and what it's trying to do, what's trying to be. You give it to somebody like a Mick Jagger, and they're just gonna be, oh yeah, prancing around, but not really. And I feel like they would have changed a lot of it. They would have been like, oh, I'm not wearing that. Oh, you want me to be wearing this? This is gross. Ooh. Especially because at the time, very stigmatized to any of that. And so I feel like they would have been like, no, look at my image. I can't be wearing this, And he was just like, yeah, let's do this. I played the part on the stage play. I'm going to do it here. And I think that kind of led to him being like, no, I can't talk about this. And then now he's like, I gotta talk about it. Oh God, this is an amazing musical. It's a classic. It's a tradition. It's a cult. This is, when you think of cult movies, this is a cult movie right here. Like, it has a cult following. It bombed at the box office when it first came out, but over time has raked in how many millions and millions of dollars, just like with the like licensing of it, like the stuff that you can buy from it. Just, God, man, it's so good. I love Rocky Horror Picture Show, and if you love it too, I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. It's a solid film. It's better than just good. It's great. It's not like blowing me out of the water amazing, but you know what? It's a classic. It's good. The acting's on point. The songs are great. It's such a good film. I like the time warp. I gotta mention that too. The time warp just stands onto itself. Like, if you play that song, everyone's getting up and dancing. Everyone knows what you're talking. Even they've never seen this, they know what the time warp is, and they know how to do it. Like I just like, I love this movie. This movie is just so good. I think it's done so well, and it just hits every point you'd want. Like, it's campy, it's over the top, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It lets you explore themes of like sexuality, of like freedom, of sensualness, of like letting yourself be, untethered from like what society's telling you to do. And it's a way for, I think a lot of young people are attracted to this, because it allows you to be something that, your parents are telling you not to be, that the church is telling you not to be, that school's telling you not to be this, not to do this. You gotta button up your shirt, tuck in your shirt, make sure, your dresses aren't too short, make sure you're cleaning your shoes, that kind of like ridiculousness, that, conformity, you want to break that conformity at a certain point in age. And I think this helps people to do that, helps people to break free from that. And I think it's a really good one to watch too around the spooky season. And that's why I'm talking about it right now. I watched it the spooky season too, because I love it. But I don't know if I'm going to talk about the sequel, there is a sequel for those of you who don't know or just like, I don't know, whatever. It's called Shock Treatment. I love that one too. It's one of my favorite films, just because it's so crazy. It has such a ridiculousness. It's become more relevant as time has gone on, and it has a crazy history behind it. But I might talk about that later in another time. But for now, guys, let's get into something spooky. Some spooky, creepy stories. Now turn your lights low, lock your doors, and bolt your windows. Let's get into some creepy stories to end off this spooky holiday. From ages 3 to 7, I'd get up sometimes at night and go to the top of the stairs. Completely awake, I'd see a faceless man at the bottom, and after a second he'd run towards me very fast up the stairs. I'd run away and scream until my mom would run up and comfort me. When I was 7, I decided to fight it. So when I saw it next, I stood my ground and screamed at it as it ran closer. It extended an arm out to grab me as it got near the top. I cocked a fist to punch it, but it disappeared. It appeared at the bottom again and ran up, reached out to me, and disappeared before it got me. It did this a fair few times before I realized it was on a loop, and it couldn't actually get me. It might not have been a real entity, but an imprinted memory. After that night, I never saw it again. And yeah, sometimes these things, sometimes something happens and it leaves an imprint, like a memory, and they're just stuck on this loop over and over again. Why? I'm not sure. And why did it stop after he decided to confront it? I don't know. Or maybe it was like well, he said he was awake though, or they said they were awake. I'm not gonna assume their gender. But yeah, no, like they would go to the stairs fully awake and see this thing just constantly run up and then try to reach out, and that's when it would stop. And it's like, ugh, that's so scary, so creepy. It's just that thing. Like it's so creepy, but like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, people will probably just brush this off, but I had several pretty unexplainable events that at the time I considered paranormal. And since the time has gone on, it sounds crazy even to me, but there were other people with me for some. Growing up, we always had what we just assumed was a ghost follow us from place to place as we moved a lot when I was a child. It never seemed like its intentions were malicious, but it did seem territorial, and I didn't like being called fake, and most activity happened when a guest was over. Once when my cousin was watching me while my parents were gone, a friend, I was telling her of past stories, and she brushed it off saying, "Ghosts aren't real." During the conversation, in the middle of broad daylight, while sitting on our living room, a friend of mine knocked on the storm door asking if I could come play. As my cousin got up to answer, the main wooden door slammed in her face right before she got to it, and the deadbolt and door locked. She was so terrified, she called my parents crying and begged them to come back. Another was at a different house, but again, when someone new was around. My girlfriend and I were laying in my bed, and my two brothers, while they played with my iPod, and me and her talked. It was her first time at the house, and I had told her past experiences, which she thought was silly. Nothing had happened that was weird, so I asked her if she thought I was lying, and she replied yes, jokingly. Less than 5 seconds later, my bedroom door slammed shut. The ceiling fan started turning on and off. Several things I had laying on the nightstand flew across the room against the door that slammed, and the doors to my dresser started slamming shut over and over again. This is by far the most aggressive thing that it ever did, and all three of them were screaming bloody murder, crying. And that's why, kids, you don't joke around with ghosts. No, I mean, it's crazy. Like, man, I can't believe that it, like, whatever it is, whatever followed them, poltergeist, haunting, whatever you want to say it is. Hey, at least it, like, if it was aggressive enough to do all that, like when it was called out, right? Like it would show you, like, hey, you're making fun of me. I ain't got time for that. I'm gonna show you who's boss around here. And that's just creepy. Just think, like, yeah, like in broad daylight, like it does all this, like it like slams the door in someone's face, but enough to be like it's like locking the doors on you, so causing you to be like, hey, you need to come home now. And then like this, where it's like it's throwing things around, slamming doors, slamming dressers, like doors, slamming them shut over and over again. Crazy. In 2002, my band was crammed into a van traveling south between Indianapolis and Lafayette, Indiana. It was raining very hard, and it was summertime over around 2 a.m. There's literally nothing except corn and soybean fields on either side of us. On the east side of I-65, about half a mile off the highway, 5 very bright beams of light, like from a search helicopter, all lit up various parts of the field at the exact same time. The lights slowly scanned around for 10-15 seconds, then all went out at the same time. The 5 beams were coming from different areas of the sky above the field. We slowed down to get a better look and rolled down the windows to listen for helicopters. I couldn't have imagined helicopters flying in that weather, and we didn't hear anything but the rain. But it's the only thing that makes sense. It was pretty freaky in the moment, and it took us a few minutes of reasoning to land on it probably wasn't aliens from another dimension, but it freaked us all out so much that we decided it would be best to get a hotel instead of driving the rest of the way back to Indianapolis. I don't know, guys. Like, to me, that kind of sounds very like in a film of like one like they like the mothership like shows itself and like all the lights come out and it's like scanning across everywhere. That's what it sounds like to me. I don't know about you guys, but it sounds like so. Like in the fact, okay, if it was helicopters, how did all the lights turn on at the same? Maybe okay, they could have been coordinated to turn on at the same. But what are they looking for? What the hell are they looking for all the way out there in the middle of nowhere? I don't know. Maybe they're looking for like a drug field or something, But and the fact that it was only like a couple of seconds is kind of weird too. And the fact that you didn't see anything, you couldn't hear anything, and yeah, maybe because of the rain. But then like, why would they all be out there in this weather, right? Like, wouldn't it be a little bit too turbulent for them? I don't know. That sounds a little disturbing. This wasn't creepy while it was happening because I was so young, but in hindsight, it's pretty weird and a bit disturbing. When I was very young and I shared a bedroom with my little sister, I woke up one night to the sound of puppies whimpering. I looked under my bed and there were 2 puppies, one black, one brown and white. I woke my little sister and we crawled under the bed to interact with the puppies, never questioning where they came from. We were very young. Eventually, our dad heard us and yelled through the door to go to bed. So we did. Never saw those puppies again. I asked my sister about this recently, and she still remembers it too. I don't know why, but that just creeps me out. I don't know why, but like you wake up to the sounds of like puppies, and they're there, and there's 2 of them, right? And the fact that they interacted with the puppies, like they went under the bed, I assume they pet them, they were like oh, look, we're the babies, the little puppies, And then they and then you go to bed, you wake up, and okay, maybe if it was a dream, and only one of you were like, huh, yeah, I remember this weird dream I had. But the fact that your sister also remembers it, that's that's creepy. Like what was that? What were under your under your bed? Like I can understand it. Like I don't even know how to explain that. Like maybe the dad was gonna give them puppies and hid them, but then why were they missing the next day? I don't know. That see, I don't know why that creeps me out like pretty bad. I have a brother who is 8 years older than me. My mom used to talk about a creepy, grinning version of my brother that she and a babysitter saw when he was little. It seemed to age with him, and my mom saw him multiple times. The babysitter saw him once and freaked the fuck out. I saw him when I was in high school. My brother worked multiple jobs and was gone a lot. So, to help him out and make some extra cash, I would clean his room and do his laundry for him each week. I would usually stay up late Saturday nights to watch Mad TV and SNL while folding laundry. I started feeling like I was being watched, but my brother was at work, and everyone else was asleep. When I turned to look, there was my brother peeking around the wall of the hallway at me with a super creepy grin on his face. All I could see were his hands holding the wall and his head sticking out around the corner, but that grin was freaky. I instantly thought my brother was messing with me, so I said something along the lines of, "Ugh, fuck off," and looked back to the TV. Then I remembered that he wasn't even home, and the hairs on my arm stood up. I looked back and he was gone. But the next morning I told my mom what I had seen, and she just nodded in understanding. It was almost as freaky as the times I would catch something out of the corner of my eye or hear something late at night and try to ignore it, only for my dog to start growling and face the same direction. That house had some weird shit sometimes. And I think that is really scary as well. It's another one that kind of freaks me out. Because, like, what? Like, not only did, like, so you see it, your mom saw it, the babysitter saw it, and not only does it look like your brother, but it, like, looks like it grew with your brother. Oh, God, it's so creepy. Like, you just, like, look over and there's just, like, what you think is your brother just, like, standing there grinning at you, like a weird grin, like looking and peeking at you. Like, that to me is creepy. Just sitting there thinking, like, wait, they're not even here. They're not even home. Oh, God. That creeps me out a lot. I don't know why, but this is another one that really does creep me out. I live next to a railway crossing, and when I was around 10, they installed floodlights on the crossing, and they shone directly into my window, so I could always see silhouettes of trees or something very clearly, like a puppet show. One night, I had a sleepover with two friends. At some point during the night, a figure appeared crouching in my window. My friends and I were terrified. In the point of context, there is nothing outside my window for anyone to stand on. The figure also had elongated body parts. The part I remember most was a pointy head. It stayed crouched in the window for a while, and we hid under the covers and peeped out occasionally. Sometime later, we saw it jump to the side. I put this down to a dream. It couldn't have been real. The floodlight eventually got turned so it didn't face my window. My friends and I grew up and grew apart. At the end of secondary school, I was getting people to sign my yearbook, and one of the girls asked me if I remembered the thing in my window. I was shocked. I thought it was a dream. So I asked the other girl, and she also remembered it. That night, I told my dad about it, and he told me the floodlights had never faced my window. This is all kinds of creepy. It's like, what was that? Ugh. And the fact that, like, other people saw it, and also, like, the lights never turned or were facing your window. So then, what was the light? And, like, what was it doing there? Like, just looking at you guys. Ugh. I think this is the creepiest one out of all. Like, how do you explain this? Like, what do you think it was? Like, just like this elongated thing that was just there. Creepy. Ugh. Creepy. Do you celebrate the Day of the Dead? Do you like the Rocky Horror Picture Show? Did you have a great Halloween? I always do. We want to thank you all for listening, and if you like what you hear, please subscribe to get every new episode downloaded. If you have any personal or fictional, paranormal, or supernatural or unexplainable stories, we love to read them on the podcast. Please send your stories, recommendations, or anything else to horrorboxpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to show more support, you can follow our socials on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, or check out our YouTube channel, all at Horrorbox on all sites. Also, you can buy me a coffee at coffee.com/horrorboxpodcast. It really helps out. Until next time, happy Halloween. This is Dom, signing off from the